The Indiana Fever's journey through the WNBA season had been nothing short of a roller coaster ride. With rising stars, moments of brilliance, and the weight of expectations, the team found themselves on the cusp of something big, until it all came crashing down in the playoffs. And in the aftermath of their heartbreaking loss, head coach Stephanie White delivered a statement that sent shockwaves through the league, sparking debates among fans, analysts, and even rival teams. It wasn't just what she said, but how she said it. Calm yet firm, disappointed yet defiant. Her words cut to the very heart of the Fever's struggles. For many, it was a reality check. For others, it was a rallying cry. In this breakdown, we'll dive into Stephanie White's post-game reaction, the hidden messages behind her statement, and what it all means for the future of the Fever franchise. We'll explore 10 key chapters, from the playoff heartbreak itself to the culture White is trying to build, and how her leadership might shape not just the Fever, but the WNBA's competitive landscape moving forward. So let's rewind to the painful night of the Fever's playoff exit, and the exact moment Stephanie White stepped to the microphone. The playoff heartbreak. The Fever entered the playoffs with momentum and optimism, carrying the hopes of a fan base eager for postseason magic. But when the final buzzer sounded, the scoreboard told a harsh story. The Fever had fallen, and their championship dreams evaporated in an instant. The arena went quiet, with stunned fans struggling to process what they had just witnessed. The players walked off the court, heads hung low, emotions raw. Some wiped away tears, while others stared blankly, replaying missed shots and defensive lapses in their minds. The loss wasn't just a defeat. It was a gut punch to a young team still learning how to navigate the pressures of playoff basketball. For the Fever, the pain went deeper than numbers. This was a chance to prove they belonged among the elite teams in the league, and it slipped through their fingers. The sting of missed opportunities, wide open looks that didn't fall, careless turnovers in crucial moments, left both the players and coaching staff searching for answers. And in that atmosphere of heartbreak, the stage was set for Stephanie White to speak. What she would say in the moments ahead would define not just the loss, but the team's direction moving forward. Stephanie White takes the podium. After the game, all eyes turn toward the post-game press conference. Stephanie White, known for her sharp basketball mind and straightforward style, walked to the podium with a quiet intensity. Reporters leaned forward, eager to capture every word. Her body language spoke volumes before she even opened her mouth. Shoulders square, jaw tight, but eyes clear. This was a coach who had just endured a devastating loss, but who also carried the weight of leadership. There would be no excuses, no sugarcoating. When she began speaking, her tone was measured, steady, and piercing. She acknowledged the team's pain, the disappointment in the locker room, and the emotions of the players. But she also shifted the focus quickly to accountability. White made it clear, the Fever were not simply victims of bad luck or a tough opponent. They had opportunities to win, and they did not capitalize. Her words emphasized responsibility, on herself, on the coaching staff, and on the players. That honesty, rare in a world of guarded soundbites, immediately resonated. It was both a critique and a promise, suggesting that this loss would not be wasted. Stephanie White had drawn a line in the sand, the exact words that shocked fans. Among her carefully chosen statements, one line stood out and rippled across social media. "We can't keep talking about potential. We have to demand results." That sentence was both powerful and provocative. To some, it was a direct challenge to her players, particularly the younger stars who had been praised all season for their promise, but had yet to fully deliver under playoff pressure. To others, it sounded like a broader call to the entire franchise, pushing for a higher standard from the front office down to the training staff. Fans erupted online, dissecting every word. Was White throwing her team under the bus? Or was she doing what great leaders do? Speaking truth, even when it stings? The truth is, her statement walked a fine line. It acknowledged the reality that potential only carries a team so far. At some point, the label of being young and developing must give way to tangible results. Wins, playoff victories, championships. For a franchise hungry to return to its former glory days, White's statement was a reminder that excuses no longer had a place. The Fever's time to grow up was now. Player reactions behind the scenes. Inside the locker room, Stephanie White's comments echoed differently for each player. Some took it as motivation, a challenge to push harder in the offseason. Others, perhaps, felt the sting of criticism, knowing their missed shots and defensive lapses were fresh in everyone's memory. Veteran players reportedly nodded in agreement. They had been through enough playoff battles to understand that harsh truths are often necessary. Younger players, however, looked more conflicted. They had given everything on the court, and yet their coach's words reminded them that everything wasn't enough. Privately, team insiders suggested that White's statement wasn't meant to divide but to ignite. She wanted her roster to feel uncomfortable, to sit with the loss and let it fuel their development. Growth in professional sports rarely comes from comfort. It comes from facing brutal honesty and using it as a catalyst. By the time the locker room cleared out, players knew the message was bigger than just one game. Stephanie White wasn't just reacting emotionally. She was laying down the foundation for the Fever's future identity. The standard had been set, and there would be no turning back. Media and fan reactions. The sports media world thrives on bold statements, and Stephanie White had just given them a headline that wrote itself. Talk shows replayed her press conference clip on loop. Columnists debated whether she was too harsh or perfectly justified. Fans, meanwhile, split into two camps. Some applauded her honesty, arguing that the Fever needed tough love to break through as contenders. Others worried that such blunt criticism might fracture team chemistry, especially among younger players still finding their confidence. Social media became a battlefield of hot takes. Hashtags like #FeverAccountability and #WhiteWasRight trended, while critics accused her of putting undue pressure on athletes who already faced immense scrutiny. But amidst the noise, one thing was clear. Stephanie White had sparked a conversation that extended beyond just the Fever. Her words touched on a larger issue in sports, the balance between nurturing potential and demanding results. For Indiana fans, the statement served as both a bitter pill and a hopeful promise. It hurt to hear, but it also suggested that White wasn't satisfied with mediocrity. She wanted the Fever to aim higher, and she was willing to risk criticism to set that expectation. The legacy of accountability. Stephanie White's shocking statement tapped into a theme that has long defined championship teams: accountability. Throughout WNBA history, the most successful franchises have thrived on coaches and players holding each other to the highest standards. By refusing to hide behind excuses, White aligned herself with that tradition. Her insistence that potential is not enough echoed the mindset of great leaders across sports. It was a reminder that championships are not won by talent alone, but by resilience, discipline, and execution under pressure. Some analysts pointed out that White herself, a former WNBA player and championship-winning coach at other levels, had always valued toughness and accountability. Her playing career was built on grit rather than pure talent, making her an even stronger messenger for this philosophy. The Fever's young roster may not have appreciated the sting of her words in the moment, but over time, those words could become the foundation of a new culture. If embraced, White's standard could transform the team from a rebuilding project into a true contender. In many ways, her post-game statement wasn't just about this playoff loss. It was about setting the tone for seasons to come. The Fever's path forward. Looking ahead, the Fever now face a critical turning point. Stephanie White's message demands more than reflection. It demands action. The off-season will be crucial, as players return to training with her words echoing in their ears. For younger stars, it means refining skills, improving consistency, and learning to thrive in high-pressure situations. For veterans, it means setting the tone in the locker room and helping guide their teammates through the grind of becoming playoff-tested. From a roster-building perspective, White's comments may also signal expectations for the front office. Depth, shooting, and defense will all be evaluated, with the understanding that simply being competitive is no longer good enough. Fans, too, have been put on notice. The Fever are not selling hope anymore. They're selling a plan for real results. That means future seasons will be measured not just by progress, but by postseason success. The bigger WNBA picture. Beyond Indiana, Stephanie White's statement sent ripples throughout the league. Other coaches, players, and analysts took notice, recognizing the boldness of calling out potential so directly. In many ways, her message reflects a shift in the WNBA itself. The league is more competitive than ever, with rising stars pushing the boundaries of what women's basketball can achieve. Every team is searching for an edge, and White's insistence on accountability is part of that larger battle. Rival teams may now view the Fever differently, not as a young team finding its way, but as a squad with a coach who refuses to settle for excuses. That perception matters, both in how opponents prepare for Indiana and how free agents consider joining the franchise. Lessons in leadership. Stephanie White's shocking statement offers broader lessons in leadership, applicable beyond basketball. First, true leaders don't just celebrate success, they confront failure with honesty. By refusing to sugarcoat the playoff loss, she modeled transparency and integrity. Second, great leaders set a standard that challenges people to rise above comfort zones. White could have leaned on excuses about youth and inexperience. Instead, she pushed her team to embrace accountability, signaling her belief in their ability to handle it. Third, leadership sometimes means risking popularity for long-term growth. White's comments weren't universally loved, but they may be exactly what the Fever needed. The best leaders understand that tough conversations, though painful, build stronger teams. Finally, her statement reflects the importance of timing. In the raw aftermath of a playoff loss, emotions run high. But White's calm delivery ensured her message landed with weight, not recklessness. Will the Fever answer the call? The real question now is simple. Will the Indiana Fever rise to meet the standard their coach has set? Words, no matter how powerful, are only the beginning. What matters most is how the team responds. Will players embrace the off-season with renewed focus, determined to prove they can convert potential into results? Will veterans step into leadership roles and help build the culture of accountability White is demanding? Will the front office make bold roster moves to support her vision? Fans are watching closely. They understand the pain of playoff disappointment, but they also crave a future where the Fever return to championship glory. Stephanie White's statement may have stung, but it also offered hope. It promised that the team refuses to settle for being almost there. Ultimately, the Fever's legacy will not be defined by this one playoff loss, but by how they respond to it. If they rise to the challenge, Stephanie White's shocking statement will be remembered not as a criticism, but as the spark that ignited a new era in Indiana basketball. Conclusion. Stephanie White's post-game statement was more than just words. It was a defining moment. In a league that thrives on competition, she reminded everyone that potential is only the beginning. What matters most are results, accountability, and the relentless pursuit of excellence. The Indiana Fever may have lost in the playoffs, but they gained something equally valuable, a clear standard for the future. White's honesty, though shocking, demonstrated her belief in her team's ability to grow, fight, and eventually succeed. As fans replay her words and analysts debate their meaning, one thing is undeniable. The Fever have entered a new chapter. The excuses are gone. The expectations are clear. And for players, coaches, and fans alike, that clarity may be exactly what the franchise needed.